It's heavy haulage time again, and in this review we're looking at a truck in the colours of the Scottish company Cadzow. This is a limited edition by IMC models, and it's a Mercedes-Benz Arocs Big Space 8x4 with a Nooteboom MCO PCX 2+6 axle trailer. As you can see, the quality of the packaging is very high, and there are some nice things included with the model, including this certificate of origin from Nooteboom. And there's also this nice little printed manual. It's a very nice inclusion, and it starts with information about the real range of trailers. And there are some very nice quality photos. As you move through, you come to the second half of the manual, and that covers the assembly of the model trailer. It starts with a parts list, although there were extras with this model, and then it goes through in steps telling you where to fit the parts. It also covers the main features of the trailer. We start with some parts to fit to the big Mercedes-Benz Arocs, and there's a cover that gets added to the front of the towing hitch, and then if your fingers are not big like salamis, you can insert a small steel pin. We then jog round the back, and there's a funnel and a pin to attach in the towing hitch, and that all fits together nicely. Next we move back round to the front, and we need to add the mirrors. These press in, but they're not a tight fit, so you might want to pack out the holes with blue tack or something to keep them tightly in. On one side of the cab there's also a roof aerial to press in. The last bit of assembly on the Arocs is to add a small ladder, and that clips into place. And you can clip it hanging down like this for access, but it doesn't fold right over for transport, so you have to reverse it and clip it for a transport position. You also get a spare fifth wheel to suit a fatter trailer pin. We now start on the trailer, and there are some stabilising feet to insert at the front. Then you need to try and line up the holes in the holder and in the leg, because there's a pin to insert to lock it in position. And what a pin it is, it's absolutely tiny. So you need to be careful with it, because once it's in it might easily come out and you'll have trouble finding it. Moving up on top of the gooseneck, and there are some metal sideboards to attach, and these pieces fit very well. The pins on the boards fit into the holes on the gooseneck, and it's all just tight enough that the boards don't flap about. After the boards are assembled, we can move to the inside, and there are a couple of spare wheel holders, and there's also a generator which just gets dropped in. After that we can hightail it to the back of the trailer and add on a couple of marker boards. Again, these are more items which are a little bit of a loose fit, so you need to be careful with them. And that also applies to some other parts that we need to fit, including beacon lights which go right at the back. And you could glue them in place, but at Cranes etc. we certainly don't like gluing things. And there are also a couple of tiny lights on stalks which have to be inserted. Although not in the manual, there are a couple more marker boards, and with no place to actually fit them, so we'll be inventive and just attach them with some blue tack. After that, all we need to do is to join the tractor and the trailer, and as usual, clunk click does the trick. The detailing of the Arocs is at a very high level, with metal suspension and transmission components and different tyres on the driven axles. The Arocs cab looks great with a light bar on the roof, and there are colour-coded door mirrors. The grille looks really good, and there's also a realistic number plate. The chevron graphics are also nicely applied. The Cadzow graphics are really attractive, and other detailing includes nice door handles. Also looking very smart on the model are the nice wheel trims. On the other side of the truck, the distinctive grille looks really good, and the equipment tower behind it is very nicely detailed, and that also includes some coiled up lines. Also very nice on the model are the textured surfaces, and they add to a realistic look. Moving on to the trailer, it is also very highly detailed, and there are tiny hoses running along the structure of the trailer. There are small tanks, and the pendle axles are modelled in metal. The gooseneck looks excellent with its tiny Nooteboom logo and the highly detailed control console. There's a yellow stripe running down the trailer edges, and there are tiny graphics there too. There are even graphics in the hard to see places, such as on the wheel assemblies. The telescopic beam has also got a stripe, and there's some very nice detailing on the trailer deck. That includes highlighted tie-down points, and also the bolt heads are visible on the access plates above the axles. At the rear of the trailer there's texturing on the surface, and more excellent graphics. Looking at the Arocs, it has linked steering with a moderate range of movement. And if we give it a run out on the Cranes Etc. superhighway, then we see that it rolls along smoothly, in a straight line. If we adjust the steering, we see that the Arocs does move along a shallow but nice curve. Of course, with all that movement, we're wondering how the model moves along, so if we tilt the cab, we can see that there's a detailed engine underneath. And it's good that the cab tilts far enough forward to stay tilted. Let's now dive underneath the trailer and we see that there's parallel steering on the 2-axle module at the front, and the rear axles are linked with proportional steering. It all works well enough with just a little bit of adjustment needed to keep a proper pose. Also nicely engineered on the model is the fully sprung suspension on each wheel set. One thing you can do on the real trailer is to separate out the front module, and if you want you can totally remove it and run a shorter trailer. On this model you can also, in theory, remove the 2-axle module at the front, and the instruction manual tells you how to do that by undoing a couple of screws. However, there is one thing that stops you doing that, and that is the hydraulic connections, because these appear to be glued on the model, so you'd have to cut them if you want to separate the modules. Back on the Cranes Etc. superhighway, and the trailer rolls along very nicely with each of the wheels properly grounded, and there's very good suspension as you can see. Let's now use the giant hand hydraulics to set the steering, and then the trailer also follows a nice curve. The other nice feature on this trailer is that it is extendable, and to do that you just pull the modules apart. Anyway, this is a heavy haulage truck, so let's give it something significant to carry. So we'll start by carefully placing the loading beams. And incoming is the load itself, which is a large fermentation tank. This is not particularly heavy in real life, but it's a challenging large load for a heavy haulage company to deal with. Let's do a quick dim check to see how big the model is, and it's nearly 18 inches or 45 centimeters, but if we decide to go large, then it's 22 inches or 56 centimeters. This is a beautiful limited edition truck in the colours of Cadzow. It's got a very high standard of detailing for that realistic look, and it's also got flexibility in the features to make some interesting poses. So if you want an impressive and good looking heavy haulage model, this one is excellent.